Hello and welcome to Daily News Simplified, an answer to what, why and how of newspaper reading. Today we shall be discussing The Hindu Delhi edition dated 27th January 2019. Today's news analysis has been covered in two parts. One part has been covered by me and the other part has been covered by Basavasa. The topics to be covered today are listed on the screen. Timestamping for the same has been given in the description box below. So let's begin. The first article has been taken from page 1, continued on page 10 of the section 1 of the Hindu, and it is pertaining to the site of Rakhigarhi belonging to the Harappan civilization. Now this article will form a part under the section of History of India and Indian National Movement with respect to prelims, and it also forms a part under GS paper 1 in Indian Culture and Heritage with respect to mains. Now according to this article, a team of scholars belonging to Deccan College Pune have partnered up with South Korean scientists with an aim to recreate the faces of few skeletal remains which had been found while excavating Rakhigarhi, which is a Harappan site located in Haryana. In this respect, we'll understand three important things from this article. Firstly, we'll discuss some key features pertaining to Rakhigarhi. Secondly, with respect to the excavations that are being done by the scholars from Deccan College Pune, we are going to understand the objectives behind these excavations in Rakhigarhi. And finally, we are going to discuss some key findings that have been found while excavating Rakhigarhi. So let's move forward. Now Rakhigarhi is located in the state of Haryana in the district of Hisar, and it is currently under the protection of Government of India. It will be important to note that Rakhigarhi is one of the 5 known biggest townships of Harappan civilization, and the time period ascribed to this site is somewhere around 2600 to 1800 BC. Apart from Rakhigarhi, another 4 more biggest townships of Harappan civilization include Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, Ganeriwal in Pakistan and Dholavira in Gujarat. Now with respect to the planning of Rakhigarhi, the archaeological excavations have revealed that Rakhigarhi consisted of a planned township wherein mud bricks as well as burnt bricks were used, and there was also presence of a proper drainage system. Apart from this, excavations such as animal sacrificial pit along with the presence of triangular and circular fire altars have also been excavated in the site of Rakhigarhi, which in turn helps us understand the religious beliefs of Harappans. Archaeologists in Rakhigarhi have also unearthed a cylindrical seal which consists of a symbol of alligator on one side and 5 Harappan characters located on the other side of the seal. Finally, the most important excavation at Rakhigarhi, which is also relevant from this article's perspective, will be the presence of few extended burials. So with this, we have understood the basic features of Rakhigarhi site. Now let us understand the objectives and discoveries of this latest excavation done in Rakhigarhi by the scholars belonging to Deccan College Pune. Now as already discussed, one of the important excavations of Rakhigarhi have yielded certain extended burials, and as a part of this latest excavation in Rakhigarhi, scholars have found complete skeletal remains of 2 females and 3 males in Rakhigarhi, which will be serving 3 important objectives, out of which the first one, as already discussed, would be to recreate the faces of these skeleton remains, and this recreating of the faces of these skeletal remains will in turn help the scholars answer some questions pertaining to the very old debate, that is, who were the Harappan people and where they had come from. Finally, this excavation would also help in tracing the beginnings of Rakhigarhi along with its gradual evolution. Now, after understanding the objectives, let us understand the key findings of this excavation which will help answer these questions. Now, the study done by the scholars of Deccan College Pune have suggested that the Harappan people were locals, and they also pointed out that the excavations of Rakhigarhi have proved that the culture of the Harappan civilization was a gradual evolution, which in turn helps them solidify the fact that Harappans were locals. However, while studying this article, we must keep in mind that this suggestion is only given by one college and has yet to be proved in the entire historical academia. Finally, the scholars working on Rakhigarhi have made another interesting observation wherein they have suggested that the Harappans are credited with certain traditions that are even practiced till today. And under that, they have credited the Harappans with the introduction of greetings such as folded hands or namaste. They are also credited with the introduction of chicken tandoor, the use of bindi, and also the practice of yoga. Apart from this, scholars also suggest, however, there is no surety that the Harappans might have also started the marriage system, considering the fact that there have been recent archaeological excavations wherein burials of a man and women together have been unearthed. So finally, in this article, we have learned certain important things pertaining to Rakhigarhi, such as its location, its time period, planning with respect to Rakhigarhi, the types of pottery used in Rakhigarhi, excavations that throw light on the religious beliefs of people of Harappa, and most importantly, the presence of extended burials. Apart from the general information on Rakhigarhi, with respect to this article, we have also understood that certain complete skeletal remains of males and females have been found at Rakhigarhi, which suggests that there may have been a gradual evolution of the sites and the people of Harappa, which in turn suggests that they were locals. However, it is just a suggestion. Apart from this, this article has also given us some relevant points which suggest a connection between the traditions followed during Harappan civilization that can still be seen prevalent today, such as the practice of greeting with folded hands, the practice of yoga, the use of bindi, etc. So with this, we have completed the discussion on this news. Please attempt this previous year question from 2013, which we'll solve after 5 seconds. Now, according to this question, we are given 3 statements that characterize the people of Indus Valley civilization, and we need to identify that which among them are correct. Now, the first statement says that the people of Indus Valley civilization possessed great palaces and temples. Now, this is going to be an incorrect statement because although there are certain examples or evidences such as the Great Bath in Mohenjo-daro, which suggests that the people of Harappa had certain religious affiliations, however, most of the structures that have been unearthed from the Harappan civilization are secular in nature. Hence, this statement will be incorrect. Now, coming to the second statement, it says that the people of Indus Valley civilization worshipped both male and female deities. Now, this is going to be a correct statement as we have found evidences such as the Pashupata seal and the figurines of Mother Goddess, which is in turn associated with fertility. And both these examples, one being male and one being female, can easily suggest that the people believed in both male and female deities. Coming to the third statement, it says that people employed horse-drawn chariots in warfare. Now, this is again going to be an incorrect statement as we do not find any evidence of any warfare activity in the Indus Valley civilization. Also, the use of horse-drawn chariots has not been witnessed in the Indus Valley civilization. Hence, this statement will be incorrect. Therefore, our final answer will be option B. That is, only the second statement is correct. Now, in the DNS dated 20th January, we had discussed a mains question wherein it was asked that which parts of urban planning and culture pertaining to the Indus Valley civilization can also be seen as a part of present-day urbanization. In this respect, this article will also be important in answering such kind of questions because, as discussed in this article, the scholars have credited many traditions belonging to the Harappan civilization as being practiced even today, and this part, in turn, can become an important data in order to answer such kind of questions. The next article has been taken from page 2, section 2 of the Hindu newspaper, and it is pertaining to an important species known as Sarus crane, which is found in India. Now, this article will be covered under the section of Environment and Ecology with respect to prelims, and it also forms a part under GS paper 3 with respect to mains. Now, according to this article, the species of Sarus crane, which is considered to be the world's tallest flying bird, has witnessed a spur in its population as recorded in the census of 2018. It will be important to note that with respect to the population of this species, there is a jump from 5.2% from the year 2017, and hence this development will be very important for us from UPSC perspective. Now, as we already know, important species have been a recurrent theme in UPSC exams. And it is in this respect that in the year 2015, we encountered two questions pertaining to different species. That is the dugong. And we had also a question wherein we had to identify the national aquatic animal of India. So from these two types of questions, we can easily identify that this article on Sarus crane will be important for us. Now, in the context of this species, we are going to understand 5 important things from this article. Firstly, we are going to chart out the basic profile of this Sarus crane. Secondly, we are going to discuss the basic details pertaining to the habitat of this crane. Next, we are going to discuss the significance of this species. And finally, we are going to discuss certain threats and conservation efforts pertaining to the Sarus crane. So let's move forward. Now, the Sarus crane, as already discussed, is the tallest flying bird in the world, and it is also the only resident breeding crane that is found in India. It will be important to note that this crane can be distinguished by its red upper neck and a white collar. And with respect to the eating habits of the species, it is omnivorous, that is, it feeds on fish and insects as well as roots and plants. Apart from this, the Sarus crane is considered to be the official state bird of Uttar Pradesh, which is going to be an important fact for us. And apart from this, its IUCN status as of now is considered to be vulnerable. Now, with respect to the habitat of the Sarus crane, it is generally found outside the protected areas, that is, the areas which is marshy and fallow along with the agricultural fields. Now, the species of Sarus crane is most abundantly found in the state of Uttar Pradesh, mainly in the southwest and central regions, particularly in the areas of Manipuri, Etawah, Aligarh, Etah, Lakhimpur Kheri, Sitapur, Shahjahanpur, Barabanki and Hardoi districts. It will be important to note that recently the Wildlife Trust of India has identified 30 more water bodies which are being considered as important Sarus wetland sites. Finally, in the context of the habitat of Sarus cranes, we must know that rice paddies fields are their favorite area for nesting and breeding. Now, with respect to the significance of the Sarus species, they are considered to be ecologically important as they play a vital role in controlling the population of harmful insects, as the dietary habits of Sarus includes the consumption of harmful insects, which in turn helps in controlling the population of these pests. Apart from their ecological importance, Sarus are also considered to be very sociable and hence have a significant cultural importance. Now, after understanding the profile and significance of the Sarus species, let us understand the threats surrounding this species that have dedicated to the loss of its population. Now, according to IUCN's 2016 status, the main causes that can be considered as threats towards the population of Sarus species include the loss and degradation of wetlands wherein this species is found. Apart from this, the ingestion of pesticides has also contributed in the decrease of its population. Apart from this, it will be important to note that the eggs and chicks of the Sarus species are popular as a part of trade, food and medicinal purposes, which in turn is threatening to their population. Now, apart from the destruction of the wetlands wherein these Sarus cranes are found, we also find the threat of electrocution due to power transmission lines in agricultural areas, which again is detrimental to the population of these species. Finally, as discussed in the last slide, we had identified that a significant number of Sarus cranes use the places such as rice paddy fields for their nesting and breeding areas, and it is in this respect that a change in the cropping pattern from paddy towards sugarcane has also attributed towards the declining Sarus population. Now, coming to the final aspect of this article, let us understand the conservation efforts taken up by the government and the local population to protect this species. Now, herein it will be important to note that the state government of Uttar Pradesh in the year 2013 had started a conservation project known as the Sarus Crane Conservation Project, which is aimed at protecting this crane species. It will be important to note that Sarus protection committees have been formed under this project, whose main strategy will be to involve the local communities in order to protect this bird and the nearby wetlands which sustain this species. Also, the program is taking help from the local volunteers who are known as the Sarus Mitra or Friends of the Sarus, who will be contributing in the protection of this species. Now, apart from the local volunteers, there are other partner NGOs too, such as the Tata Trust partner NGOs, who are working for the protection of Sarus crane in the areas of UP. Finally, it will be important to note that this Sarus crane conservation project is currently running across 10 districts of the Purvanchal area, and this project is currently being monitored under the Wildlife Trust of India. And apart from the Wildlife Trust of India, the UP Forest Department, along with organizations such as Tata Trusts, is also contributing in this conservation project. So in a quick recap, in this article we had learned about the official state bird of UP, that is the Sarus crane, which is the tallest flying bird in the world and is the only resident breeding crane of India. Apart from this, we had discussed the eating habits and IUCN status of the species, and we had also discussed the areas, natural wetlands in particular, which serve as the habitat of this species. Apart from this, we have also identified the districts in which the population of this crane is abundant. Apart from this, we had also understood why this crane species is ecologically important, as it helps in controlling the population of harmful pests. We have discussed certain threats pertaining to the species, that is loss of its habitat, ingestion of pesticides while it is living in agricultural lands, trading of its eggs and chicks, the threat of electrocution due to power transmission, and the reduction in paddy fields, etc. Finally, we had discussed some of the important conservation efforts which were done in order to save the population of Sarus crane, and under that important will be the Sarus crane conservation project, whose features have been discussed below. Please try and attempt the dugong question from the year 2015, which we'll discuss after 5 seconds. Now, according to this question, we are given 3 statements pertaining to dugong, which is a mammal found in India, and we need to identify that which among them are correct. The first statement says that it is a herbivorous marine animal. Now, this is going to be a correct statement, as dugong is a type of a sea cow, which is a strictly marine herbivorous animal. Now, coming to the second statement, it says that this animal is found along the entire coast of India. This is going to be an incorrect statement, because this mammal is only found in certain parts of India, particularly in the Gulf of Kutch, Gulf of Mannar, Palk Bay, and the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Coming to the third statement, it says that this mammal was given legal protection under the Schedule 1 of the Wildlife Protection Act. This again is going to be a correct statement, and it also implies that dugong is given the same level of protection as tiger in India. Hence, our final answer for this question is going to be option C, that is only the first and third statement are correct. Now, please attempt the second question from the year 2005, which we'll discuss after 5 seconds. So this is a very direct question, and we need to identify the animal which is the national aquatic animal of India. So the final answer for this question is going to be Gangetic dolphin, that is option C. Now, in light of the information which we've just discussed in this article, please also attempt this practice question, which we'll solve after 5 seconds. Now, according to this question, we are given 3 statements pertaining to the Sarus crane, and we need to identify that which among them are correct. The first statement says that it is the tallest flying bird in the world. This is going to be a correct statement, as we've just discussed that Sarus crane is considered to be the tallest flying bird in the world. Now, the second statement says that its IUCN status is critically endangered. This is going to be an incorrect statement, as we've just discussed that the IUCN status of Sarus crane is vulnerable. Now, coming to the third statement, it says that its nesting sites are generally found in paddy fields. This is again going to be a correct statement, as paddy fields serve as an important nesting and breeding ground for the Sarus crane. Hence, our final answer for this question is going to be option A, that is the first and third statements are correct. So with this, we have completed the discussion on this news. The next article has been taken from page 10, section 2 of the Hindu newspaper, and it is pertaining to the species of krill. Now, it will form a part under the section of environment and ecology with respect to prelims, and it also forms a part under GS paper 3 with respect to means. Now, according to this article, krill belonging to Antarctica have started shifting closer to the poles, that is southwards, and the reason behind this is the warming of the oceans. This observation in turn has been published in a report known as Nature Climate Change, and this report also points out that the major population of these shrimp-like crustaceans have moved at least 440 kilometers in the direction of south in the past 90 years. So from this current development of the shifting of krill of Antarctica towards the pole, we can easily understand that there might be some kind of ecological impact. Therefore, in light of this development, we are going to understand three important things pertaining to this article. Firstly, we are going to discuss some basic features pertaining to the species known as Antarctic krill. Secondly, we are going to discuss the role of climate change with respect to the movement of krill. And finally, we are going to discuss the impact of this krill movement on the environment. So let's move forward. Now, the Antarctic krill is basically a small swimming crustacean that are known to live in large swarms. As suggested from its name, this krill is mainly native to the waters surrounding Antarctica and is considered to be one of the most important prey species near the bottom of the Southern Ocean food webs. That is, it serves as an important source of food for many species in the sea. Now, with respect to the eating habits of this species, krill generally feeds on phytoplankton. By phytoplankton, we mean a microscopic single-celled plant which is mostly found drifting on the ocean surface. Apart from the dietary habits of krill, this species itself is one of the main staple diets of not only sea animals such as fish, whales, etc., but it also serves as a diet supplement for the birds. Now, krill is also used in the production of certain health supplements such as krill fish meal or krill oil. Finally, it will be important to note that the IUCN accords the status of least concern for the species of Antarctic krill. Now, let us move on to the second aspect of this article, that is, what role does climate change have to play in the movement of krills? Now, according to scholars, it is often suggested that when the climate is warming, most of the species tend to move towards the poles or towards a cooler climate. And this same scenario has been happening with the species of krill. Now, the reason why they are moving towards poles, that is a colder area, is because warm climate is considered to be unhealthy for the reproduction for krills. Apart from this article also introduces us to certain data pertaining to the temperature of the water bodies wherein this krill have been found, and due to the warming of these waters which are native to the species of krill, we find their concentration moving towards a narrow band located in the coast of Antarctica. Now let us come to the final aspect of this article, that is, what is the impact of this movement of krills on the environment. Now, as already discussed, that in warmer climate or in warm waters, krill is unable to reproduce, and it is due to this climate change particularly identified in the water that we find that the average krill is getting bigger in its size, and the reason behind this will be the fact that young krills are unable to survive. Apart from this, we had also discussed that krill is an important part of the food chain wherein it serves as a dietary supplement for most of the animals in the ocean as well as certain birds. And it is in this respect that the movement of the krills towards the poles had impacted the food chain, as the number of krills are depleting, which had earlier served as food for the penguins and whales. Hence, the movement of krills in turn is affecting other species in the waters as well. Another major impact which can be seen as a part of the movement of krills towards the South Pole direction is that they are mostly caught under the industrial trawlers. By trawlers, we mean large boats who use wide coned shape net in order to catch fish. And it is in this wide cone shaped net that the krills are being caught, which in turn is threatening their population. So in a quick recap, we have learned about the habitat of the Antarctic krill, and also we had learned about the role of Antarctic krill in the food chain. Apart from this, we had also learned the use of krills in human health supplements and also the IUCN status of Antarctic krill. Now, with respect to the movement of krills towards the poles direction, we have understood the impact of this phenomena on the size of krills. Also, we had understood the impact of this phenomena on the food chain. And finally, we had also understood the impact of this phenomena on the population of krills. So with this, we have completed the discussion on this news. Now, in light of the information which we have just discussed, please try and attempt this practice question, which we'll solve after 5 seconds. Now, this question contains 2 statements pertaining to the Antarctic krill, and we need to identify that which among them are correct. The first statement says that recently the movement of the Antarctic krill towards the poles has been witnessed. Now, this is going to be a correct statement as we have just discussed that according to the study which is published by the Nature Climate Change, Antarctic krill has been moving towards the direction of poles due to the warming of ocean. Now, coming to the second statement, it says that krill finds its application in the human health supplements. This is again going to be a correct statement as we had already discussed that humans catch krill in order to make fish meal or oil, which is then sold as human health supplements. Hence, our final answer will be option C, that is both the first and second statement are correct. The next article has been taken from page 9, section 1 of the Hindu, and it is pertaining to adoption of a charter of patient rights. Now, this article will be covered under the section of social issues with respect to prelims, and it also forms a part under GS paper 2 with respect to mains. Now, according to this article, an organization known as the Jan Swasthya Abhiyan, which is actually a national platform working towards the health and healthcare services, has urged the Ministry of Health in order to implement the Charter of Patients' Right. And hence, it is in this respect that recently the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare had placed this draft of Charters of Patient Right in the public domain in order to get public suggestions. Now, the adoption of this Charter of Patients' Right will be done in order to ensure that there are no violations pertaining to any patient's rights, especially in the private hospitals. Apart from this, the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare is in turn planning to implement this draft Charter of Patients' Right via the state government with the motive to provide effective health care by the means of clinical establishments. Now, in light of the development of this Charter of Patients' Right, we are going to understand two important things from this article. Firstly, we are going to discuss the aims and objectives pertaining to this charter. And secondly, we are going to discuss some important rights which are provided in this charter briefly. So let's move forward. Now, the main aim of this Charter of Patients' Right is to provide adequate protection to the patients. And this will be done by consolidating all the legal provisions given to any patient into a single document, which will then be made public. Apart from this, once this charter is introduced, it will in turn help in creating public awareness and educating the citizens of the country with respect to the choices a patient have in terms of healthcare. Another important objective of this charter is to provide a dedicated regulator who will serve the interests of the patients and also govern the healthcare delivery system of the government. Now, this Charter for Patient Rights contains in itself some exhaustive details pertaining to the rights provided to the patients. In this respect, let us understand some of the most important rights that are provided in this charter. Now, as discussed already, the main aim of this Charter of Patients' Right is to provide adequate protection of the patient's rights. In this respect, we must ask ourselves, what do we mean by these patients' rights? So, some of them include the right to adequate information. That is, a patient must be able to know about the nature or cause of the illness. He or she must also be completely informed about the diagnosis, the investigations, and how his or her disease will be managed. Apart from this, the Charter also provides for the right to transparency in rates, wherein fixed rates will be transparently available to each and every patient with respect to the medical treatments and facilities provided in any hospital. The Charter also gives the provision of providing basic emergency medical care each and every patient in all types of hospitals, that is both the government and the private sector. Apart from this, the patient is also entitled with the right to hold records and reports, including the investigation reports. And finally, among the many rights provided in the Charter also provides the patient with the right to informed consent. That is, if a patient is going under any hazardous treatment, he or she must be dutifully informed prior to the treatment. So I hope with this you have understood the entire information pertaining to the Charter of Patients' Right, which might soon be introduced under the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. Now, in light of the information which we have just discussed, please attempt this practice question which we are going to solve after 5 seconds. Now, this question contains two statements which are pertaining to the draft of the Charter of Patients' Right, and we need to identify that which among these two statements are correct. Now, the first statement says that recently a draft of the Charter of Patient Rights has been put up in the public domain for suggestions by the Ministry of Health and Welfare. Now, this is going to be a correct statement as we have just discussed, that the Ministry of Health has been recently urged by the Jan Swasthya Abhiyan, which is a national platform working on health and healthcare. And it is in this respect that the ministry has placed a draft of the Charter of Patient Rights in the public domain for suggestions. Now, coming to the second statement, it says that this charter will be implemented through the central government. This is going to be an incorrect statement because the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare is planning to implement this charter through the state governments. Therefore, our final answer for this question is going to be option A, that is, only the first statement is correct. The next article has been taken from page 12, section 1 of the Hindu newspaper, and it is pertaining to a fungal toxin known as Zearalenone, which is found in cereals. Now, this article will be covered under the section of General Science with respect to prelims, and it also forms a part under GS paper 3 with respect to mains. Now, according to this article, this fungal toxin known as Zearalenone has been recently detected in the cereals such as wheat, rice, corn and oats from the markets located in Uttar Pradesh. It will be important to note here that till now there had been no data pertaining to this fungal toxin known as Zearalenone. However, this recent discovery from the markets of Uttar Pradesh and also a study done under the Lucknow's Indian Institute of Toxicology, which has found this toxin in 70 out of 117 samples tested, show a different picture wherein it has now become mandatory to study more about the possible problems that can be caused by Zearalenone. Therefore, in light of this development, we are going to understand three important things pertaining to this article. Firstly, we are going to discuss some basic features pertaining to this fungal toxin known as Zearalenone. Apart from this, we are going to discuss its impact on the human and animal health. And finally, we are going to discuss some regulations put up by the Government of India pertaining to these toxins which are found in cereals. And also, we are going to discuss some suggestions pertaining to the effective handling of this fungal toxin known as Zearalenone. So let's move forward. Now, Zearalenone, as already discussed, is a fungal toxin which is generally found in cool climates as they are favorable for its growth. Now, this toxin is mainly responsible for infesting cereals such as wheat, maize and barley. And there are two ways in which this toxin attacks the crops. That is, it can either attack the crop while they are growing, or it can even attack the cereals which have been stored without being dried completely. That is, they contain moisture in them. Now, let us understand the impact of Zearalenone on human or animal health once it's consumed. Now, herein, it will be important to note that Zearalenone basically behaves like estrogen, which is a female sex hormone, and in turn causes endocrine disturbances within human bodies. It is in this respect that in the year 2014, a case study done in Tunisia had found a correlation between the breast cancer risk in women with the presence of Zearalenone metabolites in urine. However, it will be important to note here that this study is not being supported by the results of many other similar type of studies. Now, apart from creating endocrine disturbances in humans, Zearalenone, if digested by animals, also impacts the anatomy of animals. This observation can be substantiated from the fact that countries like Brazil have already put up regulations on the levels of Zearalenone contained in animal feed. Now, let us quickly have a look over the regulations which had been put forward by the Government of India with respect to the toxins which are found in cereals. Now, India already contains certain regulations pertaining to the fungal toxins that are commonly found in food. Among the fungal toxins which have been regulated under the Government of India, some of these include aflatoxin, ergot, patulin, etc. It will be important to note that the first three mentioned here as fungal toxins contribute in infesting the cereals, whereas patulin is found in apples. So basically, herein we have understood which all fungal toxins have been regulated under the Government of India. Now, with respect to Zearalenone, it will be interesting to note that many countries, including European Union, have put up limits with respect to its content found in cereals. However, in India, the Food Safety and Standards Authority has not imposed any maximum limits as of now. So from this point, it can be easily understood that the first step the Government of India must take is to impose a limit on Zearalenone and in turn regulate this toxin. Now, in order to regulate this toxin, India must use these suggestions in order to move forward, wherein the government must first start with gathering enough data which can ensure the widespread impact of this toxin, which will in turn help in setting limits on Zearalenone. Apart from this, we also need gathering some concrete data which can link diseases such as breast cancer with the levels of Zearalenone present in human bodies. Finally, as we have already discussed that this fungal toxin needs cool climate in order to flourish. Therefore, by learning from this aspect, we can easily stop the contamination of cereals done by Zearalenone in states where the climate is more favorable. So with this, we have completed the discussion on this news. I hope you have understood the main points pertaining to this fungal toxin known as Zearalenone and how it is impacting human and animal health. Now herein, it will be important to note that in the year 2013, we got a direct question pertaining to aflatoxins, which we had just discussed is a fungal toxin which had been regulated by the Government of India. So from this example, we can easily identify that fungal toxins such as Zearalenone are also very important from UPSC perspective. Now please try and attempt this previous year question which we'll solve after 5 seconds. Now this question says that improper handling and storage of cereal grains and oil seeds results in the production of toxins which are known as aflatoxins, and they are generally not destroyed by normal cooking process. In this respect, aflatoxins are produced by what? So the final answer for this question is going to be molds, as we had already discussed that aflatoxins are a type of fungal toxins which are in turn produced in molds. Hence, our final answer for this question is going to be option C. With this, we have come to an end of today's news discussion. Let us move on for the question of the day.